Haiti in particular, historically and to this day, just a place so full of trauma, it just weighs on me still. I'm not sure I've processed it because I'm really literally 15 minutes off the plane. But here's the hope. When Rod and I and our then boys lived in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, we had gone to a conference and listened to an old friend of ours, Woody Dalton, who pastors a church in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And Woody was talking about the need for people to listen, that he was sure God was calling people to the cities across the United States, and Christians generally were not responding to that call. 20 years ago, they were kind of going the opposite direction. And it was several weeks after that event that Rod and I admitted to each other that we had been thinking ever since we heard Woody speak that God said it was us, that we were supposed to go. And so we began praying in earnest about that, and the sense of it was that I almost felt this as a promise from God, because I was dragging my boys yet again into a new environment. Didn't know for sure where we were going, didn't know anybody in any urban center other than back out in California, and really didn't want to do that. And so there was this sense that God would provide partners. And so our first foray was into New York City, where the denomination actually owned a building in the Bronx. And I got out of we took the train up and we were walking around, and I just felt heavy in that place. Couldn't imagine how I could move my boys there. They were between 7th grade and 11th grade at the time. And couldn't imagine kind of what the picture was. And as we were going back on the train, someone said, "Hey, what about Philadelphia?" And so Rod and I said, "Hey, what about Philadelphia?" Prayed about that a bit more, and ended up getting in our car and driving into Philly. And it doesn't happen this way very often, at least not in my journey with Christ, but we were in the city not more than 5 minutes. We'd gotten out of the car, we began to walk around thinking we'd just pray and see if anything made sense. And literally within 5 minutes, we turned to one another and said, "This is the place." And so we moved our children and everything we owned into West Philly, in a neighborhood where Ben and Joel would regularly be mugged for a while because they were 12 and a little less in stature than they are today. And we learned a lot of lessons along the way, but I think the key thing was that God really is faithful, that there were lots of partners, and you're them now, 20 years later, but there were so many signs along the way that this was something that God just desired, that he wanted his love to be multiplied among people, among cells, among families, among congregations. And you all make me very, very glad. So thank you.